Welcome back to the podcast. Today I've got my good friend Jamie Alker on. You know him from rock band legend, singer extraordinaire, and you're going to start to hear about his newest brand, Heal. So excited about bringing him to the table and talking about the new ideas, stuff he's doing. Jamie, welcome.
Thank you very much. How you doing, Anthony? How you doing today?
I'm doing great because when you're here, hanging out with you, it's just always a ball of energy and just a lot of fun. If you guys don't know something, but Jamie and I do a lot of fun stuff together. His idea, Heal, has been inspired. I go watch his journey as he's going through this thing and finding the right location. We've gotten to multiple different sauna locations and heating location and cold plunges. It's been amazing.
Mm-hmm. It has been a crazy experience. I'm excited for this new journey, and I'm very, very grateful for the part that you're playing and helping me to make this thing happen. So thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you, my friend.
From rock bottom from rock band to rock bottom, you have gone through quite the journey, as we both have, right? We kind of match some stories out there. And when we talk about what you're doing now, I really consider this recovery 2.0, right?
Yep.
Like another way of thinking about not just, hey, getting sober is one thing, right? Great. Hey, now we're sober. Now what?
Yes. The way that I look at it is for those of us who are in recovery, those of us who have overcome one day at a time our battle with drugs or alcohol, we look at that moment as probably the moment in our life with which we have the most pride and joy. We get it tattooed on our bodies. We celebrate every year when we get a coin for that anniversary. And what is that about? That experience, for those of us who have been through it and know how difficult it is, know how much of a struggle it was to get there, know all of the pain we went through, all of the discipline, all of the faith, all of the struggles that it took, and then coming out the other side after doing the hard work, all of the pride and joy and self-esteem we feel as a result of doing that. And what I don't understand is why people stop. This is the greatest thing that they've ever accomplished in their life, and they just end up stopping there. Instead, why not use that mentality, use that drive, use that absolute focus that we had when we were in our addictions, when we were drinking, when we were drugging, when we were completely obsessed with getting that next one. We have that within us. We have that hustle within us. Why is it that so many people stop after just stopping drugs and alcohol and don't use those same principles, don't use that same discipline, don't use that same faith to continue into other aspects of their life? It brings so much joy. It brings so much pride. It brings so much pleasure. It just doesn't make sense to me. So that is why I look at this Recovery 2.0 movement that I'm kind of a part of, just this thing I've been thinking about, talking with you about, Anthony. Why not take that and put it in other aspects of your life, your health, your nutrition, your family, your spiritual life? People showing up to meetings, eating 6 donuts and going outside with their Monster drink, smoking a cigarette. It doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense. That's really what's funny, because I think if they would have write a 12-step program today, for sure this would be in there, right? I mean, today, looking at, back then it was, just getting done with alcohol was a feat itself. And where we were at in the 30s, of course, that seemed like, hey, if I could just get people to stop drinking alcohol, that was a great way to go. And add the drugs on there, same thing. Now you get to a point where you're sober, but you start to plateau. I can't tell you how many people I've met in recovery who are just miserable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are dying, slowly dying. The real work is in saying, all right, look, if I'm not happy, joyous, and free, there's some work to do, right? And where might that be? And I think today we're getting so many more signals as to where the opportunities are. And I think we start to digest into that today. I think we're going to start to really dive into that realm that says, all right, look, recovery was 1. Now let's go to 2.0 and let's start looking at other places.
Absolutely. All of the same principles. We said it earlier, practice these principles in all our affairs.
Yeah, not just the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Now I can start looking at, like one of my favorite ones I'm going through right now is eating.
Yes.
Health, right? That, it was amazing. I got sober and they, originally they were saying to me, hey, if you just carry a handful of candy in your pocket, that'd be the best thing you can do. And maybe it was, because maybe at the time the withdrawals from sugar were real, right? And they were real. So having that sugar there to handle the withdrawal was great. Then I started going, all right, I want to get healthy, because I had some body shame, right? I wasn't feeling great about what was going on. and I would do good for a while, but I'd be in the gym working out hard, but I wasn't losing weight. And I'm like, all right, what's going on here? Right. And I started noticing that they would go, Anthony, it's not the gym, it's the kitchen.
Yep.
I'm like, what do you mean it's the kitchen? They're like, it's the kitchen. You can't keep putting that stuff in your mouth. It's the mouth you got to. I'm like, I got to stop what? Yeah, you got to stop putting stuff in your mouth. So,
Yeah.
But I didn't know that, right? I mean, but behind that, I started finding I was addicted to sugar.
Yes.
Right. I didn't know it was kind of similar like the way it was with when I was drinking. I didn't realize that every day I would stop drinking and I'd be in withdrawals the next day.
Yep.
Right. Or whatever drugs I was in withdrawals. Right. And the craving would kick in. Right. We know that craving that gets this, but it's cunning, baffling, and powerful. It doesn't show up like it did with the cigarettes or the drugs. It didn't show up that way where it just was cunning. Right. All of a sudden I'd be looking, I'm like, oh yeah, you're sneaking a donut.
You know, they say that, you know, you and I have both had our experiences with cocaine and, you know, that's a hell of a substance, but they say, the experts say that the two most addictive substances around are nicotine and sugar. Like that's the biggest thing
for sure
is sugar.
Sure. It's hidden in everything.
It's insidious. It's everywhere. It's in everything.
It's in everything.
Yep.
And I didn't realize that because I would get to a point where it was like my recovery from sugar. And look, people, when I talk about this, it's just like recovery from the drugs because there were layers to it, right? There was the big stuff. I could say, well, all right, I'm not going to eat ice cream tonight before I go to bed, right? And maybe I would get that one done. But I didn't realize it was in the breads. I didn't realize it was in the quick snacks. It was in the drive-by handful of chocolates at someone's desk or the lifesaver, right? It was in every little spot of, and people are like, well, you can't be miserable. And somehow or another, I equated happiness with digesting sugar, right? And people would say, but you could cheat just this once, right? Come on, this is a special occasion. I don't think my wife would say to me, it'd be okay for you just to do a little cocaine just this once.
Okay.
It's a special occasion.
Yep.
Right? Because that guy comes back.
Yep. You know, I'll tell you, I'm 53. Yeah. All right. At this point in my life, I actually, for the first time in my 50s, I have a six pack. Like my abs are cut like that. Now, why is that the case? Yeah, gym, but I am 100% sugar free. So that thing of killing that addiction, I've actually done it. I have no sugar. I don't do agave. I don't do anything like that. Occasionally, I do raw creamed honey, which is something that doesn't really spike your glucose levels. So you can get away with it without that dopamine hit. All the things you're talking about with sugar. And the high that comes with it is the dopamine. It's all of these other things. It's the addiction of the actual sugar, the glucose spike, all of those things. So as a part of this journey that I'm not just bullshitting talking about, literally, I am dairy free. I'm gluten free. I have the cleanest diet you could imagine. And the biggest thing was going 100% sugar free. Now that took me using the principles of my recovery, understanding that I cannot have just one. And a very interesting thing just happened to me last week. On Instagram, I found this recipe that was, you take a bunch of avocados, you take some coconut cream, you add a little bit of this raw creamed honey, some raw cacao powder or cocoa powder, mix that up and it creates this like chocolate mousse. I made it. I tried it just this week. It was delicious. I'm like, it checks all the boxes. There's no sugar, just a little bit of the raw creamed honey. It's got the chocolate mousse flavor. It was fantastic. I had it one night. It was like, this is so good for me. The next night I had it. I tried it again. By the third night in my head, I was starting to be like, I really want some chocolate ice cream now. I bet I could have it just once. The same addiction shit. Come on, I'm starting to watch myself make me being 100% sugar free because I know I can't have it just once because it'll turn into this. So even just trying to get around the corner like we all do in our addiction. Oh, well, maybe if it's just right, well, a little bit of milk. Maybe if it's just on the weekends, whatever kind of bullshit we come up with is nothing but bullshit. And I saw myself do it this week, thinking I could make a healthy chocolate dessert with a little bit of raw creamed honey, and it just started the phenomenon of craving, which takes you to making excuses, and the next thing you know, I would relapse.
Yeah, it's funny how the brain works. It's hard to see when you're there, but here, like all of a sudden, that little nuance right there, you're sitting there on day 3 going, I when I was in addiction, I did heroin one weekend. One weekend. It was like, it was like a 4-day event. And I somehow or another stopped on day 4. But I would say that I've spent the next 9 months thinking about it. Right? Like there's something about a dish, right? That literally, especially that drug.
Yep.
It was, I don't know. I was in a bad place in life and that happened. Right. I feel like that's the same thing with sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, once I get off of it, right where I'm at today, I've been really sugar free for quite some time.
Nice.
And maybe in Mexico, I had a corn tortilla, and I didn't feel real bad about that. But everything else was fairly clean.
Yeah.
And what happens is the cleaner you get, the cleaner you want to be, right?
Yep. It keeps going. It's self-fulfilling. It's like a flywheel. It keeps going and going. And the further away you get from sugar, the less thoughts you have, the less obsession that you have towards it. It works. And it's the same as the rest of it. Then if you do it once, the next day, man, that was, I just have a little bit of it. It sure would be nice to have a little bit of chocolate or some ice cream. Yeah. But if you stay away from it, it's all the same principles that we learn in our basic recovery that we can apply to all these other areas of life. By the way, similar to you, I did heroin once for 4 days in a row. And then after that, I continued doing it for 10 years. Then I stopped. It was similar.
It's kind of, but here, look, and that's the stuff that, we talk about taking us out. Look, at 56 years old, what's funny about stopping sugar was all the other things I didn't realize how it was affecting my body, right? The body aches, right? The inflammation I'd have every single day.
Yes.
Can you feel it when you get around sugar?
100%.
Right.
The even just those couple of days where I was eating the mousse, I woke up the next day a little bit stiffer. When I am 100% clean, at this point in my life, I finally have zero inflammation and zero body pain compared to at 53, compared to my late 40s when I was jumping around on stage thinking I was healthy, but eating sugar and a bunch of other bullshit and would be stiff all the time. Now, 5-10 years later, zero body pain because of how clean I eat. But yes, I can wake up the next day. When I was going back and forth in the early days, I'd be feeling good. Wake up the next day, wake up with both hands numb.
Yeah.
Stiffness from just one day of going to get an ice cream cone or something.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't even realize that until a buddy of mine down in Florida, Jeff, he said to me, look, it's the sugar it's getting you. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, it's the sugar. Mm-hmm. Your pains are coming from the sugar. I'm like, come on.
Yep.
It can't. He's like, and he goes, just start to track it.
Yep.
He goes, start to track the days when you feel the most pain. The night before, did you have an ice cream? Mm-hmm. Right. It would be that thing where I go with the kids, I'll just have an ice cream.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden it's like, boom, you get it. So when we talk about 2.0, it's a practice, right? Remember, we talk about practicing these principles. It's not like I need to beat myself up. And look, what's great about being an addict is I come with that mentality of either I do it perfect or I'm a jackass, right? I beat myself up. Like, I can't believe you did that. I POS, piece of shit. I feel like, I can't believe you did that. And I mess my mind up, right? So I really want to talk about is how do we practice these things and have some grace for the travel, for the journey, for those of you that are listening today and going, look, I want to get there, but I can't get there, right? That I remember, look, I can't tell you, it's been years it took me to get from wanting to stop eating sugar to actually stop eating sugar. It was not like I did it overnight. Some people can. I'm a blessing for them, but it took me, I had to get sick and tired and sick and tired and sick and tired and sick and tired and sick and tired. Where I would, even those micro cheats, places where I didn't even realize I was doing it, and it happened so quick, right? Sometimes it'll be just in a spot where all of a sudden I'll grab. Here's one. I go to Victory over there, the Italian place. I love that place.
Love that place.
And the first thing they put on my table, bread.
That bread is delicious there.
Yeah. And now I just ask them, I'm like, hey, could you just do me a favor and not bring it out?
There you go.
Yeah.
Recovery principles right there.
Right. I love you.
Yeah.
I just don't need it. When it's there, then I feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, what happens is my Italian parts would kick in.
Yes.
Right. I will serve something.
If there was a pile of cocaine or heroin sitting on the table in front of me, I'm going to have a hard time. even this far into my recovery.
Yeah.
Just, it's just don't put it on the plate. Don't put it on the table in front of me. The bread, the ice cream, the same stuff. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just don't bring it out for me. Don't put that temptation in front of me. 100%.
Well, I got another one in my house, right? I've got a mother-in-law who I love. My mother-in-law, I love her. She's amazing, right? Yaya comes over from Greece, and Yaya cooks, and she does all kinds of great stuff. She breaks, but first thing she does when she gets here, she starts breaking out the cookies.
Mm-hmm.
You get her anywhere near Christmas, she comes to visit, and there are Greek cookies. I'm like, look, honey, I love them so much. It's another one of those ones I was having a hard time stopping.
It's rough,
right? Because you get to the end of the night, I would sitting on the couch, and I would say, just go upstairs. Right, because my bedroom's upstairs. And I'd be sitting there, and I knew all I wanted to do is go from there to upstairs. And my that little thing inside of me would cunning, baffling, and powerful, would have me swing by the kitchen. All of a sudden, there's 2-3 cookies in my mouth, and I'm like, damn, you didn't need to do that. Like, how could it be? Oh no, but if I don't eat a cookie, my brain starts justifying. You're going to be hungry. You're going to need it.
Oh yeah.
The truth is, as soon as I ate those cookies, I was going to be hungrier afterwards.
100%. And so you're talking about like being good to yourself or having grace with yourself in these types of situations. And my response to that would be that if I gave up after the 100th time that I somehow found myself back on the west side, like you found yourself in the kitchen, if I had given up after that, I would literally be dead right now. No question, I would be dead.
That's right.
So we keep getting up. Again, it's the practicing the principles of your recovery. We keep coming back. We keep coming back. All right. We don't shoot our wounded, right? You keep coming back. You give love, you give grace, you give compassion to those who are still out there in it, because, by the grace of God, go I. Right?
Absolutely.
I could be back on the west side, in the kitchen, any of these things. So just because what we're doing with our health, lack of mobility, getting out and working out or going for workouts, or our nutrition, eating the wrong things, or not keeping our commitments in our relationships that we need to keep because it's our job or it's our family or any of these things, we fall short. But if we practice those same principles that we did in our recovery, we get back up, we don't kill ourselves, we don't beat ourselves up. We get back on the horse and we start again, and we reach out to our support. We talk to our people who are going through the same things we're going through, and we come back and we start over with the new day, because we know that if we keep doing that the way we did with our drug and alcohol recovery, it is going to end up sticking. And then we are going to have one more ultimate winner in our lives, like we do with our recoveries. Again, the moment we tattoo those dates on our bodies. We show up for celebrations every year of those things. Most people think of that as their most prideful moment in their lives. Why? Because they overcame something difficult.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, if you did it once, you could do it again and again, and then you build up another win and another win and another win. And all of a sudden you're getting healthy. You're working out. You have $1 million business. You have a good family relationship. Look, one of the reasons I want to come and sit here and do this with you is because you and I are both people who have gotten past the initial stages of our recovery, but haven't settled there, have become very successful in other areas of our lives.
That's right.
So this is recovery 2.0. You keep going. You don't rest on your laurels. This is what you got so much self-esteem out of that act of recovery.
Right.
And then after that, so many people end up being complacent. Don't you want to feel that way again?
It feels like, why stop there?
Yeah.
You could have just keep drinking, because at least when you're drinking, there was a couple times you had fun.
Yeah.
Right. To be sober and miserable.
Yes.
Seems like a cold place to be.
It does.
So one of the things you mentioned is your support group. And I think that's a really great spot. And I'm noticing that, healthy people breed healthy people.
Yes.
Right. You start to get around that culture, those things. What's funny is I just went to lunch with a man, same principle, same guy as us, right? Same guy. And I was just noticing I was complaining a little bit about my wife. Like just a little whine, a little bit like, last night I got that. And he's like, He goes, what's your part in it? And I was like, wow, he didn't co-sign my crap, right?
Yeah.
When you're around healthy people,
Yes.
right? When you're around healthy, he said, looking at it going, right, we know where to start looking. And she's not responsible for making you happy, right? Where did you get that? Where'd you get that? What you want?
Yep.
Right here, you want something outside of you to make you happy. No, yeah, but she's my toy. She's supposed to make me happy.
Right.
No. here,
Love
how
it.
are you accountable for that? And I was like, man,
Yep.
that's fun to be around, right? Like all of a sudden, it wasn't that way, right? The people, when you start practicing these principles and you start being around people and that support group, like there's a gift in it. It grows, right? And it even goes deeper. It asks us to take another step, not like in a place where if you don't take it, you're a piece of crap, but from a place like there's more to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, they talk about, if you want to know who a person is, look at the 5-10 people they hang out with. That's going to tell you everything about them.
Yeah.
Like, I need the people around me to motivate me. I want to feel like I am oftentimes the dumbest person in the room.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be inspired by the people that I'm around. I want to be around people that are making me better, making me stronger, making me more inspired. And I refuse at this stage of my life to spend time with anybody who doesn't make me a better person.
I mean, you can feel it, right? When you're around those people, those soul sucking, those soul
energy vampires,
right? Like you get it. Like they're like, all right, I can't do it. You spent a lot of time on stage, in your rock band years and the work that you do, the music and how it inspired you. Now you start to work on Heal.
Yes.
Give me some of the similarities there. Kind of with this is a new venture, right? This is like another rock. This is a new band, right?
Yeah, it is.
New band you're putting together.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So, yes, I when COVID hit, I was in my late 40s. I had just gotten my record deal with Sony. We made our major label album in the summer of 2019. Did all the videos, press and push into the end of 2019. Went on a national tour to start 2020. Got home the beginning of March after touring the country. Was about to set up the tour to go to Europe in April, May, and March of 2020. The world shut down with COVID. And the other thing I was doing was motivational speaking and recovery, speaking at conventions and keynote speaking at different events around the country. So everything I was doing was basically speaking or performing in front of large groups of people, and it was gone. It was over. Yeah. So I needed to figure out what it was that I was going to do next. At the same time, I ended up eating something that I don't know what it was, but it caused this massive infection in my gut that started me down this path where I got very, very sick, found out I had a horrible bacteria and mold infections in my stomach. These things turned into all of this inflammation and all the other stuff we were talking about, but I learned about my health and my gut biome and the different things that I needed to do to truly get healthy. And that became my new passion when I got into as COVID was moving forward. So I started down the regular Western medicine, going to regular doctors. They couldn't help me with what was going on. So I learned about functional medicine, alternative holistic practices, learned about ways to really, truly detox my body through infrared sauna, red light therapy, cold plunge, hyperbaric oxygen, all of these things that were coming out that were really showing ways to improve yourself, detox yourself, live longer and stronger. And as I learned about it with the sort of biohacking aspect of it, I learned that if I do this right, there's a chance I could live to 120 or beyond and be strong all the way through. And I started to do these different therapies and see these doctors, and I finally started to get better. That's what we talk about. I cut out sugar, I cut out all these other things. And there was a while where I literally couldn't lift my arms over my shoulders. The inflammation and pain was so bad. Now, again, 100% gone. So what I was looking for was somewhere in our community, and Anthony and I live in the same community in the west suburbs of Chicago, Oak Park, River Forest, Park Forest area. And I looked around this area for places that had cold plunge, infrared sauna, red light therapy, all of the things that I needed to heal myself. And I found there wasn't anything. Now, at the same time, this was last summer, I was going through a bit of a spiritual crisis. So the other thing that happened early in COVID is that I learned I didn't have enough money to retire, even though I had to kind of retire from what I was doing. So I learned about investments. A little controversial for some people, but I got into crypto, learned about blockchain, digital assets, got in at the right time, learned how to trade, learned how to invest, did very well between 2021, 2022, and today. Last summer, I realized that all of my focus had become about money and my own health, and I made a movie about this. At the core of my recovery is being of service to others. I've been on stage in front of thousands of people, signed autographs, walked red carpets, did stuff that people would be like, that is a dream come true. I was still miserable inside and a heroin addict. The only thing that has truly saved me, the thing that has truly made me happy inside, when all of those other things you would think would make you happy didn't, was being of service to others, asking nothing in return. So that was the core of my recovery, giving it away, wanting nothing back. Paradoxically, the spiritual gifts that you get, if you're doing it selfishly, like, but I do kind of want something. It's like, God knows, the spirits know. So it doesn't work that way. You give and the rewards are unbelievable. What I realized last summer, as I was also learning that there was nothing in our community where I could use these treatments that I did, I also came to this very, very, this very clear understanding that I was at a point in my life where I was too focused on money and I wasn't focused on helping others, and I needed to do something new to be of service to others. And so I don't know if you can see, those of you who can see, but this is it, Heal, right here. This is my new company. This is my new venture. And it was like a moment where God came to me and said, you need to do this. And I said, I don't want to start another business. I don't want to do that right now. But everywhere I turned, a new door open. I found a building. I found people who were interested. I found the right contacts. I found the right doctor. I found the right this. I found the right that. And all of a sudden it was like in front of me, you have to open this wellness center called Heal, the Center for Wellness and Longevity, where you can have all of the treatments you need, but you can educate all of the people in your community about all of these sicknesses that they're going through, all of the inflammation, all of the poor diet, that there is truly a way to heal, not get on more medications, not just get by, but using these things, you can actually truly heal from all of these long-term, what people are calling chronic conditions. It doesn't have to be that way. So it was like, I can do this. I can help myself. I can create a profitable business and I can help others. And it just became my new passion in that moment. It started last summer and it's culminated in where I have a building now. I have the plans, got the permits, just hired the contractor. We start construction next week. And with any luck, we'll be open sometime in August.
Well, I think it's a story of, you come up with a decision and the world starts to unwind.
Yes.
Someone once asked me, I was planning this trip around the world with my family. And when we were planning it, I could not see the money. There was no way. But once we planned it, and it was a noble, it was something that was a good thing, right? I was not trying to get money from anybody. It was the whole idea was that I wanted to travel with my family and do good things, right? And if you do it, somehow or another, like, it happens. Like I just in the moment that you decide to do it, I think the story about the building inspector was something that it got me inspired. I've watched you go through this journey, right?
Yeah.
I've watched literally watched you go through this from napkin to space, looking at different ideas, watching you go through this. And he was telling me about the building inspector. He had planned on a spot in a different city. And all of a sudden you found you had another city's building inspector come to talk you into put it over there. And he wanted it for his city.
Yes.
Right. He literally, you could tell in the way he spoke about it. He's like, I want this in my city. Yes. Right. He was like, the biggest here, not just for the city, but for himself.
Yes.
Right. And you could feel how the universe almost pulls you into it. Right. So I think it's a lesson to talk about. Something that it's hard to trust because, look, I don't know if I trust the universe. Fear kicks in. I don't know, but somehow or another, I'm watching you do this. It's been a great example of how the universe has been pulling you into it.
Yes, I think the law of attraction and manifestation in its true sense is a thing where I've learned a lot of people think of, manifestation or the law of attraction is you start thinking about things and you start thinking about things and then you just hope that something is going to appear in front of you. And that's not how it works. Like, you have to truly believe that this is your path. get the signs coming towards you, live in that you have already created this, that this already exists. You just have to go through time linearly until it appears in front of you. And if you truly believe that, and then you can't do it delusionally, then you have to watch to see some of the doors opening, which was very much happening here. And so it was like, yes, okay, I am on the right path towards manifesting this thing. And then you don't wait for things to happen. You make the next thing happen. You make the next thing happen. With the building, what you were talking about, I almost bought another building. The last minute, I decided that it wasn't the right deal. I walked away, and literally later that day, I went on a little like walkabout. I walked to the other town that is next door. And I realized that this other building was the place to be. And I found that it was in the town with the building inspector you were talking about, who was begging me to come and build it in that town. I got in front of that building, realized, oh my gosh, this is in Forest Park. I called my architect and I said, hey, I think I found the building and it's in Forest Park. He's like, can you wait there for 10 minutes? Not even kidding. 10 minutes later, him and Steve Glinke, the building inspector, showed up within 10 minutes. We're like, yeah, this has got to be the spot. We'll do whatever it takes to help you get it. Just everything has continued to fall into place. That has just told me. Of course, there are tons of problems that go along the way. That's part of starting a business.
That's right.
But man, everything has told me that this is the right thing to do, and that it's the rewards are starting to happen for the work. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, it's fun. So let's get into Heal's going to cover sauna and cold plunge, and now you're really sort of bringing a bunch of other stuff, which I think is we're on the precipice of really unwinding. We're watching the Brian Johnstons of the world. We're watching all of the
Gary Brecka, there's Mark Hyman, there's all these guys.
They're all
Peter Attia.
Yeah, they're all on the precipice of really these breakthroughs that are starting to happen, and you're bringing them all together into one functional support built space. So let's talk about it. So your members will be able to let's kind of walk through a membership over there.
Sure. So the basic membership is going to be either so we have the contrast therapy suite. So there are several private rooms where you get it for an hour. You walk in, you have a 2-person sauna, infrared sauna. So you get the infrared light upregulating you at the cellular level. Like, this is real science. It's not woo-woo stuff. You spend maybe 20, 30 minutes in there. You jump out, you do a mineral shower. We have completely non-tox mineral showers. So you get out, you sweat it out, you go in that, then you get in the cold plunge that'll be set between 45 and 50 degrees. You do that for anywhere from 30 seconds to 3-4 minutes, depending on how good you are at it. You get out of that. The benefits of that, we're not going to get into it right now.
How far can you go?
Me right now, I'm at 3 minutes.
I made it here. So I did the other one. I'm moving up. I got past 8 minutes.
8?
I got 8 minutes.
You're the man.
I know. Look, I went with. I've been going with. I'm competing with you. That's why you know.
Okay.
Here, listen, your 3 minutes inspired me.
Yes.
But I broke through that.
Okay.
I got to 6, and now I made it to 8.
Is this guy not an addict, dude? Is this not addict mentality? 100. I love it.
It's because look, you said 3. Yeah. I'm breaking through that 3, and you know me, I got to compete.
Yeah.
So I made the 8 minutes. I'm not going to tell you it was easy, but so we were doing hot shower or the mineral shower and then cold and then we would do it again.
Okay. Yep. Right back into the heat. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we
170, 180 degrees.
Yeah.
Do that for another 20 minutes. Shower. Yep. 3 times contrast therapy. So this is the thing.
Yeah.
It is the easiest way to explain it. There's these heat shock proteins, cold shock proteins, all of these different things. But the easiest way to explain it is when you put your body in a situation where it thinks it might die, extreme heat or extreme cold, it starts to wake up and say, all right, I can't bullshit anymore. I'm about to go to war. So if you're in this building we're in right now, let's say there's 20 people, we all of a sudden get alert, we're going to war, and you need to take the best 10 of your soldiers. You're going to go through this place. You're going to kick out, it's the law of the jungle. You're going to kick out the 10 people who are slackers and find the strongest and best 10 people in this house to go to war with. The same thing happens inside your body at the cellular level. You have these zombie cells that are hanging out in your body that are just not doing a lot. When your body thinks thinks it might be about to die, it goes through a process where it says, all right, we got to get serious. The strong ones, we're going to get you upregulated. The bad ones, we're going to flush you out of her system. So they detox out, you pee them out, you sweat them out, and all of a sudden you have an upregulated cellular system. Everything in your body is based on your cells, right? Your muscles, your bones, everything. So as long as you can keep your cells at the highest level possible, the stronger you are and the younger you are as you move forward. So you put yourself in these situations where you think your body might die, but it's not going to, and it does miraculous things to your body. You do it in combination, heat, cold, what it does in terms of your metabolism, what it does for your collagen production, what it does for melatonin. You have the best night's sleep, so you have amazing energy all day. You have amazing sleep at night. And for those of you out there in the world who used to love your cocaine but don't do it anymore, let me tell you another wonderful thing. 3 minutes in a cold plunge increases your dopamine by 250%, which is the equivalent of doing a line of cocaine. So those of us who can never do a line again, spend 3 minutes in a cold plunge and you get the same feeling.
I was trying to get a couple lines with that, Dave, but when you talk about sleep, it really is. I think that's one of the other places where we start looking at all the aspects, all the practices, principles, and all our affairs, right? So the eating one we're working on. Now we got the health one where I feel like I'm in that great place where I'm attacking a few spots there. Like one, every day at the gym's great. Now I got to start working on a little bit more flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's been a little intimidating me to go do yoga, to do that stuff. It's never been in my nature to stretch. I'm always like, boom, right in the gym. I like the round muscles.
Yep.
So that's one of the things on my goals to really grow that section of it. Now as we start to up the physical part of it, now we can start upping the healing part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the cold plunge adds to that.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So not only does it help with upregulating the good cells, right? It helps on the muscle recovery.
Well, look, every single basketball team, every single football team, when they come off of where they go do the ice plunge. Yeah. The great thing about the cold plunge is that it is a consistent 45 to 50 degrees wherever you set it, versus like the old school locker rooms where they'd sit in a tub and throw some ice in there. So you're all over the place. You're up and down. Your body's not getting the consistent level that it is with the cold plunges. But yeah, every athlete, one of the architects I spoke to, not the one that I used, but another one, he just finished building a dream house for one of the Bulls. And in his house, he had cold plunge and infrared sauna included in his house, and the Bulls organization paid for them. If that doesn't speak to what it does for your recovery as an athlete, and we're all athletes to one degree or another, but yes, it's amazing for inflammation. It's amazing for recovery. Every single athlete should be spending time in a cold plunge and using infrared sauna, both for detox and then for recovery, 100%.
Interesting. I think that's a great spot. Now let's go to, now they've got a whole bunch of great supplements, right?
Yes.
So I've been on a new path. One of my VPs here introduced me to AG1. Now, I know Brian Johnson's got a morning formula. There's a few out there. Just trying to figure, to try out a couple of them. And by the way, I just got my latest blood work and I have crushed it.
Nice.
Right. From, I started the Function Health practice, a couple years ago. And I've kind of watched, as my journey's gone, but I'm slowly seeing this great progress. This latest one, there was a jump, right? I literally went from, slow progress. In fact, I went backwards on my second one. My third one was getting better. My fourth one was a jumper, right? Where I literally, a couple places where I was suffering, I had some metals in my heavy metals in there. I'm feeling like there's these great new, this is helping out. So how do you start figuring out the supplements? And you're going to have a lot of that in your place.
Yeah, we'll have an apothecary. We'll have a lot of different supplements, and that is a very complicated one that is very, very individual. So if you're lucky enough to have a few dollars in the bank where you can do some of the things that me and Anthony have done in terms of being able to take some of the diagnostics and the deep dives into your levels of toxicity, your blood, and being able to then translate that that into where you are deficient, that's great. A lot of people obviously don't have the ability to do that. So if you do, fantastic. You find out where your deficiencies are, and you can really start to dial it in on if you need different specific minerals, different specific vitamins, peptides, all of these different things that can help out a lot. But at the very, very baseline, what I will say is that our diet, unless you are eating the way that I do, which is 100% grass-fed, regenerative elk, bison, and venison that comes from farms in Texas that have never been agriculturally raped. Unless you're eating your meat and getting your vegetables from places like that and from the farmer's market, you are not getting enough minerals. What you're getting is food that is completely deplete of minerals. And if you don't have the minerals in your body, no matter how many vitamins you take, your body doesn't really know what to do with it, how to absorb it, how to get the right energy, how to place it in the places that it needs to be. So at the very, very bottom line, I suggest that people get at least a very high quality multivitamin, and then also a really high quality complex mineral supplement as the very, very baseline. The other thing is every human being over 35 years old should be taking 5 grams of creatine every day. Creatine is a miracle. It's not just for working out, but it does for cognitive function, for muscle rebuilding, for everything, especially women. Women need it even more than men. So at the very least, if you're over 35, take at least 5 grams of creatine a day, get a good mineral, complex mineral that's covering all of the minerals, and a good multivitamin, and at least you'll be on your way. If you do that, cut out sugars, cut out seed oils, do that for just a month or two, you'll start to see amazing differences in your life.
Well, I think that's something to hear. Look, some of you guys that are not anywhere close to the path, right? You're not there yet. You want to make that change. I remember I was at I was at the gym one morning listening to a podcast, and excuse me, they were talking about all vegetarian diet. And I don't know, the day before they were talking about an all meat diet, right? And I remember I was halfway through my workout, I'm listening to this thing, and this guy is going on about how, veggies are better for your body, and And I remember how frustrated I felt, right? Because there's so much data coming at us, right? There's so many different parts and pieces. I think you hit on a great spot. Start in a couple of key areas.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you started with just one good multivitamin, right? If we just started with heading down the path of, maybe you don't cut out all sugar, but you start to notice the sugar, right? That for me,
That's how I started. I cut out just the Starbucks and the regular sugar. I was still using like agave, stevia, little things like that. But I cut out the processed sugar. Maybe had a little bit of ice cream here and there, and things like that. But yeah, there's so much information out there. And as far as the carnivore versus vegetarian debate, where I stand on it is, honestly, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are getting enough protein and you're getting enough nutrient dense, rich foods in your life. Can you get it all with vegetables? Yes. But the kind of vegetables the amount I would have to eat, and because of what I was going through with my gut biome issues, there were a lot of things like beans and a lot of different types of vegetables that I was not allowed to eat. So the limited amount of stuff that I was able to eat, I found that going to the grass-fed bison and beef and venison and elk gave me the dense nutrient-rich food that I needed, and it didn't bother my gut biome and actually helped me out. So vegetarian's cool, carnivore is cool. If you want to do all of one or the other, I don't know. Some people, everybody's got their opinion, just like their asshole. But it's not about. I don't care one or the other. But you need to be getting all of your vitamins and minerals, and you're not getting it from McDonald's, and you're not getting it from a salad every day.
All right, so now we're starting to look. We're putting these things up in front of us. We're starting to look at our drugs and alcohol. Easy. That's easy. No brainer, right? Sugar, no brainer. Right? We got that.
Yeah.
We got the food now. Now we're on food. We got the physical fitness.
Yep.
We're in the gym. Gym. Now we're trying to different parts of the gym.
Yep.
A little bit of stretch and more stretching. I don't even know what stretching is, but one of these days I'm gonna get to stretch.
Okay.
Right now we started. What about sleep? This is another one, little conqueror. Talk a little about sleep.
Yeah, this one. So I follow all the biohackers, the people you just talked about. You know, Dave Asprey, Brian Johnson, Caleb Barnes, just some of the best scientists. Gary Brecka, Mark Hyman, all of these guys. Every one of them, they might agree, they might disagree about how much of a certain nutrient you need, what kind of food, if you should be vegetarian or carnivore. None of them disagree at all about the fact that you need to be getting 7 to 8 hours of good sleep every night. If you're not, you're doing brain damage. You're literally giving yourself brain damage.
Wait, I can't get 5?
No.
No, here. And that's what's funny is we're told, you know, the hustle culture.
Oh yeah, celebrated.
Comes with, I don't need more than 5 hours. In fact, I think I have celebrated that.
Yep. I in the past did as well.
For a big chunk of my life.
Yep.
And today, I think you're starting to see that. At least I'm starting to notice it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it because I still don't sleep through the night. I still sleep in like spurts.
Yeah.
Right. I'll get 4 or 5 hour spurt. From 9 to 9 to 1 or 2 in the morning, I'll get that spurt, and then I'll fuss for a minute or two, get up and pee, and then I'll get another kind of 2 hour spurt, right? And it seems like that's what happens throughout the night. I want to start working on some of those hacks, right? So where are some of the hacks that you're doing around sleep and?
Yeah, sure. So the two big things that I do right now is in the evening, I use a PEMF mat, a PEMF mat, which is pulsed electromagnetic frequency mat. It sets you lay on the mat or sit on the mat, and it puts your body in certain frequencies that are like the frequency of the earth, very, very calming frequencies that it puts your whole body, all your cellular structure into that very, very calm, vibrative state. So I do that in the evening. I use the PEMF mat every evening. And then I also use this thing that is called a pulsetto, which I'm going to show it to you after we finish here. It's been a complete game changer for me. It's a vagus nerve stimulator. I saw it. Brian Johnson uses it. Caleb Barnes uses it. Anthony Robbins uses it. Tony Robbins uses it. A bunch of people. I was like, all right, I got to check it out. So I bought one. It goes around your neck, like these couple little electrodes right here. You put this little bit of gel right there, and it's a little electrical stimulation. It stimulates your vagus nerve, which goes from your brain through this whole network through your body into your gut. It's the biggest nerve system in your body. When you stimulate this vagus nerve, it has different settings for stress, anxiety, sleep. You stimulate it, it just goes for 6 minutes at a time. It can drop your cortisol levels and your stress levels by as much as 50% just using it. This is the biohacking stuff, the next generation stuff that is changing the game. So I used to have problems with the sleeping between the PEMF mat and I do the pulsetto at night before I go to bed. Gone, dude. I do the pulsetto 3-4 times throughout the day, especially starting a new business with all the anxiety and stress. And I can literally feel my stress has gone down massive amounts. So those are just a couple of hacks. A little bit of melatonin is another thing that people can do. Again, some of the stuff isn't cheap. A PEMF mat can be, anywhere from $500 to a couple $1,000s. The pulsetto is like $299. So I understand it's not something that everybody can go out and do, but there are meditation apps that are cheap. You take a little bit of good melatonin in the evening, a small dose. Don't use too much. Those are great hacks for people who don't have a ton of money as well. So there's lots of stuff out there that people can do if they have the money to be able to get into it deeply, or even if they don't, if they're being serious about wanting to get better and live longer and stronger.
Well, I got to tell you something. Where you're going with this is what I feel like all of us are looking for. Our society is now at a point where we've moved up another notch. We continue to grow. Look, there's a lot of stress out there. You're seeing it in the culture. You're seeing the divides. It's adding to that. And if what you're doing at Heal can bring some of that health and wellness, and take them through that. Yes, I think all of us we all know. Look, especially look at 56. I know I'm right. I know I want more. I want more health. I want more wellness. Right. I'm looking to bring in the best of the best to the table, because I don't know. Maybe that saying the sands of time, or I'm starting to see them. Well,
here's the thing. We are. When we get into our the 40s, especially into our 50s, and then between like 50 and 70. I know Tony Robbins talks a lot about the seasons of your life, but when you're in this season between your late 40s and your early 60s, you are at your mental prime. You have done all the work, you've sowed the seeds, you have the wisdom, you have the knowledge, you have the clarity, you have the leadership, but at the same time that you're moving up over here in terms of your ability to manage, your body is starting to tank at the same time. So what I'm hoping to get people to do is see when they're getting to that prime where they have the experience, they have the knowledge, they have the wisdom, and then their body, no, you don't have to let your body fall apart. I'm going to live to at least 120. Could a bus hit me tomorrow? Of course, it's not about the outcome. It's about me having that as my goal and my North Star. But if I think about it that way, at 53, I'm not even halfway through my life.
Wow.
Think about what that does. Yeah. And I'm not saying 120 where I'm walking around with a cane. No, strong all the way through. All of the technologies that we're not even started talking about, exosomes, stem cells, hyperbaric oxygen, the blood transfusions that are happening where you can give yourself basically a blood oil change, all of these different things, the peptides, just next level things that can bring us back to feeling like we did when we were in our 30s and 40s, the way I feel now. There's no reason at all why I have to stop feeling this way. So as I get stronger, as I get wiser, as I get better in all of those aspects of my life, I do not have to let my physical self start to decline. It's not necessary anymore. We have the technology where we don't need to do it. You don't need to do it. I don't need to do it. And think about when you start thinking about 120, you're not even halfway through your life yet. Yeah. Think about what that does for you, the freedom that opens up to you.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think aging's a disease?
Well, it's our bodies get lazy, our cells get lazy, certain aspects of our, if it's dis-ease, if it's your body's inability to continue to function at the way that it did when it was at its prime, in that sense, yeah, aging is kind of a disease, but the way that people are aging is not just natural. It's the toxins, the chemicals that are in our system, the way that we live our lives, the stress, the way that we eat, the nutrition, all of these things all together are just making us deteriorate. So if we remove those things and we use these tools like the things I'm going to be providing at Heal, aging becomes optional to a certain degree.
Yeah. Brian
Johnson literally ages at 50% the rate of most people. So he celebrates a birthday every 2 years. He's gotten his aging, his biological aging down to 50% of what the normal person does.
But that's what I feel so excited about, especially as we walk into where we're going with AI,
yeah,
right? As we start to bring more and more of this technology to the place. Mm-hmm. I just did AI where I took all of my medical records and put them all in AI.
Same.
Right. So now I'm starting to go, I've named it Zoe. My AI is now.
Mine's Bobby.
Bobby.
All right.
So I got Zoe. Yeah. I'm like, Zoe, take a look at my these medical records and combine them and start to see the patterns and information. What can we gain from that? Where we go from here, it feels like this amazing adventure for us. As you continue down this path with Heal, I feel like this is where the world is calling for it.
It's so funny you mentioned that. One of the services that I am in my brain tinkering with that is going to be offered, I'm calling it BioOptimize AI, where I have gone into the AI and I've built a model where I've had to go out and do research on the top 10 functional medicine doctors and the top 10 biohackers. And it went away for 2 days and compiled all the information out in the world about detox protocols. Then I took all of my medical information and I put the two of them together along with my age and my preferences and had it come up with a full plan for me. And I did that at what would normally cost $10,000 to go out and see all of the specialists. So I'm trying to create a program where we can come in at Heal and for just a fraction of that cost, be able to use that information, have people come in with their basic information and provide them with a lot of that knowledge that you and I have through AI that a lot of people don't have access to. So it's interesting you brought that up. It's a system that I'm trying to create. So again, people who couldn't otherwise afford it will be able to get access to that.
Well, I hope Bobby gets to be pretty badass.
Yes.
Look, we're needed.
Yes.
We're there, and I think that's the most amazing thing is just it keeps unwinding to me, and I look at it and go, okay, all right, this is people are freaking out like, oh my God, AI is coming. Oh my, look, I get it. And yes, to say there is an existential risk for sure.
Yeah.
With any technology there has, but
100%.
at the same time, I'm seeing these amazing opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you look at both of them? Keep a good eye on it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not let any one person or one vehicle or one idea outrun itself. We've been there before, right? We've watched some stupid stuff happen. But at the same time, look at these opportunities,
Yep.
right? And I think that's where you're bringing us to the table. In a world where people are tearing each other down, right? You're building a place where people can come heal. And brother, for that's a gift.
Thank you.
Yeah. I look forward to continue watching your journey as you go through it. I'd like to bring the podcast over there as you're doing the build out.
For sure.
Day one, I'd love to get over there. Maybe we go do a day one.
Oh yeah.
We take the audience through your build out.
Yeah.
Get them excited about where you're going.
Yes.
And we'll do some fun posting with that. Audience members, if you want to get to know Jamie, how we get them to engage with you? Where's the best place to find you?
Well, most people out there in the world know me as Jam. Jamie is my full name. Jam has been my nickname since I was a kid. So it's Jam Alker. If you go out and you were to Google Jam Alker, you'd find out all kinds of interesting things about me, or you can go to jamalker.com. That's JAMALKER.com. You'll see I've got it broken down into artist and then entrepreneur and health and recovery activist, the 3 sections of my website. Find out anything about me there. You can go on Spotify or any of the other music platforms to hear my music. If you were to go online and search The Middle Way, you would find that was a film that was made about my story in recovery and my music career. So that movie's out there in the world. You can watch that on Tubi. I think it's still on Amazon Prime. There's all kinds of crazy things that I've done in my life. If you just go to the website or you go to Google and just Google Jam Alker, you'll find out anything you want to know about me. That's basically it.
Well, we're going to put all the links to that down below.
Nice.
And you'll have great access there. And audience members, we'll make sure you have a full connection. We'll show you where the location is so you can go get healed as well.
Yes.
Jamie, welcome. Thanks for being here.
All right, man. Thank you for having me, Anthony. I'm going to and I'll see you again soon.
Awesome. Hey, audience members, last week we had another amazing number of downloads. It blew me away. You guys, look, I'm so humbled. I'm grateful. Thank you very much for listening and being on the show and all that great stuff. If you could take a second, we noticed that a bunch of you guys made it in the podcast and you hadn't liked and subscribed. Some new audience members are there. Take a second right now and like and subscribe. It means the world to Alyssa and all the guests we have on here. It really does. And to me. So if you could take a second and do that now, I'd be grateful. And as always, thanks for listening.